We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
I may not be a millionaire. I may not have a brand new Frigidaire. My clothes ain't all fancy, and my car ain't brand new. But there is joy in my house. I've got joy in my house.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Join My House, inspirational reality radio show with a touch of recovery. A reality radio show where nothing is left unsaid.
And no one who says it is insignificant.
And I'm joined here by my co-host, Lolita Robinson.
Hey, how you doing?
Welcome back to another Sunday of Join My House.
Here we are. It's happy St. Patty's
That's
Day, right?
Happy St. Patrick's Day out there. If you're joining us out of service or getting ready to go to service, we want to thank you for being a part of the joy that we have in our house and be part of our listeners and audience out there. I always recommend that you engage with us. Like us on Facebook /Join My House for updates and up-to-date lineups of guests and special treats that we have. Today we have an amazing
Oh, I'm so
guest
excited.
today.
I'm so
actually
excited.
nervous and
You should be,
excited.
because she calls you on your stuff. I'm so excited. Yeah. Kathy's like, she's the girl. She's like, Mom, she's my accountability partner, even though I need to spend more time with her. But she's the one I give praise to God for using Kathy in a marvelous way, for bringing us in to celebrate
That's
and
right.
to
That's right.
have a
Kathy
lot of these
Taylor, the
guests.
Celebrate Recovery State Representative, is here today and is going
Yeah.
to share a little bit about her testimony, what CR is, and also a new film that's out or that's coming out April 19th called Home Run with the star lineup. And we'll talk about that a little later. But I did want to recap
Yeah.
last week's show.
Adriana. Yeah.
What an amazing, amazing person.
I thought about her during the week. I've been really busy, but I want to get in contact with her. You know, having her on renewed my faith. It really did. That
Wow.
God is a supernatural God. I think sometimes I put him in rational because I can't figure things out. You know, I put him in a box, and she just got me to realize that he is so magnificent, so awesome, and he's supernatural, and he does work in miraculous ways.
Well, that's really great to hear you say that, because I always say that, when we bring on guests, they minister to me.
Yeah.
So it seems like you got her to minister to you.
Yeah,
as
well, I think she ministered to a lot of people about, and still the thing that was so beautiful is that she's so humble, and she's still in her trials. She had just had a near-death experience the week before she came on. She's still dealing, waiting for God to heal her. And so many of us are in a situation where we're going through a lot of stuff. We're waiting for that big promise of God, but meanwhile, we've got to be faithful and occupy our time here. And she was faithful with that.
She really was. She has her book out called No Es Tan Dulce, Not Too Sweet.
Yeah.
And she's working on her second book right now. She's a speaker and a motivational speaker. And I was just encouraged by her as well. Just her stepping out in faith. And she had mentioned that everything had been put on a back burner for a little bit. And now she's back on the forefront. And having come on the show, like you said, renewing your faith.
Yeah.
That's amazing that God really uses it in his time.
Well, because I had gone through the experience where I've had so many people. I've known at least 7 people, and I'm not exaggerating, who've died from cancer. And we've prayed and stood. But God, in that instance, it didn't seem fit to, I don't understand the circumstances, to heal them. But with her, he healed her from a lot of her sicknesses and things. And then she's had near-death experiences where so it just let me know that he's God. I'm not, take off my God suit, as we say in program. And it was awesome. So
It really
I know we're
was.
going to have some of these people back.
Yes, we
I'd like to have
definitely want-
everybody back.
Well, we've been blessed, ladies and gentlemen, to be able to sit here and talk to these amazing people and these amazing guests who not to hopefully encourage you out there and give you guys hope, but also inspire and give us
Yeah,
hope.
right.
Which I think is the reason why God put us on this earth, was for us to engage with one another, to love one another, and to encourage and give each other hope. Today, Kathy Taylor is really going to speak on that and how Celebrate Recovery, it's just a Christian 12-step program, it helps you do that. For me, it is the foundation of my recovery and my sobriety. This last Ash Wednesday was my 5th year of sobriety.
Oh,
Sober for many-
congratulations.
yeah.
Yay.
And I never really kept track of how long it was or how many years. I picked up my 1-day chip, my newcomer's chip, and I never picked up another chip, and now I picked up my 5-year chip. I really am a person who lives one day at a time, one moment at a time.
That's right.
And through Celebrate Recovery, it's taught me how to take those baby steps one moment at a time.
Yeah, I'm blessed.
I'm excited.
I am too. God is bringing me home with Celebrate. I when I go and share Celebrate, it's not where my foundation was. It was more in the secular. But to come more, like I was telling Kathy, I've been helping my mom. I'd like to go through another step study. It just brings me home because Jesus is the foundation. You really can't change unless he's in your life. And I'm loving CR and becoming more and more a part of it. But this is where God placed you.
Well, thanks to you, I remember you told me, you go to AA, do my program, and I did my secular 12-step program, which helped me, but I needed more. And when you found out about Celebrate, you said this is what you need to do, Joelle. And I remember.
Well, Kathy, Kathy tell how you, because that was Kathy.
No, it was that she was, but you're the one that told me you need to do this. And I remember you being my accountability partner. I followed directions, and we're going to tell the story of how I met Kathy.
I can't wait. And she's, you know what? She's down to earth. She's fun, and she's scared to come on. She throws us out there. I said, come on. You got to, you got to come with us.
Let's say this on the air. Kathy sends us to different Celebrates. For me, as part of my recovery, for Lolita as her profession, she's a speaker and an author. You can find her on lrcministries.com, and she just released her second album, Changes, which you can find on cdbaby.com. And she puts us out there, and for the first time we get to hold her a little bit accountable.
That's
I'm very excited to have Kathy Taylor,
CR
State Rep, come on. This is Joy in My House, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, and please feel free to follow us on twitter.com/Joy in My House. You can call directly with any questions or comments at the landline. It's 323-247-7443. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joy in My House. Stay tuned.
Call us.
My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. Dare not trust the sweetest frame, but wholly lean on Jesus' name. Who Christ is solid rock I stand. All other ground is sinking sand. All other ground, is sinking sand. When he shall come with trumpet sound, oh may
Do you suffer from degenerative diseases such as high blood pressure, diabetes, fibroid tumors, high cholesterol, genital herpes, or a plethora of other diseases that rob you of a quality life? If so, then visit the website of herbalist Tahuti Ma'atra at dhealthstore.com and open the door to natural healing at an affordable price. dhealthstore.com has over 1,800 products created by herbalist Tahuti Ma'atra, specifically designed to help you heal the natural and safe way. At dhealthstore.com, you'll find everything from herbal formulas and cleanses, such as Tahuti's famous Full Body Detox, as well as herbal teas, extracts, natural body butters, lotions, creams, children's products, hair care products, and of course, sexual enhancement products for both men and women. So visit the website of Tahuti Ma'atra, dhealthstore.com, or call toll free at 1-888-823-9416, dhealthstore.com.
Are you ready to enjoy the Maui lifestyle? You can have it all by owning real estate on the paradise island of Maui. Dennis Rush, a 22-year Maui resident and real estate broker, brings his wealth of experience and market knowledge to add value to your Maui real estate understanding, providing a level of service as unique and exceptional as the island of Maui itself. The magical island of Maui was voted the most exclusive resort island in the world by Condé Nast Traveler, and keep in mind, Maui is only a simple, non-stop flight away. Hawaii Business Magazine Top 100 Realtors awarded Dennis Rush the 2011 fourth top realtor on the island of Maui. Go to www.dennisrush.com to view all of the amazing properties currently available in the Maui MLS system. Whatever your needs or desires, Dennis Rush will provide a private consultation for any Maui properties your heart desires. You will be in good hands. Once again, go to www.dennisrush.com. That's www.dennisrush.com. Contact Dennis today to start your Maui lifestyle now. Dennis Rush, proud sponsors of the Dawn Christie Show and LA Talk Live.
My clothes ain't all fancy.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Join My House, inspirational reality radio show with a touch of recovery. A reality radio show where nothing is left unsaid.
And no one who says it is insignificant.
I'm joined here by my co-host, Lolita
Hello,
Robinson.
it's so good to see you.
Another Sunday.
You were cleaning up before we got started, making sure everything was all
I was
nice.
trying. We always have a bunch of coffee and coffee cups
That's right.
and everything, and I know it's on the camera, but this is it's a reality show in the
Relax.
sense that this is transparent, ladies and gentlemen. We don't edit anything. Everything here is live, which also gives us a sense of accountability. What we say here is recorded, and it is
It's
will
out
last the
there.
sands of time.
Yeah, Kathy said it's out there.
That's right. And we're joined here by State Representative of Celebrate Recovery and our very dear and good friend, Kathy Taylor. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's so great to be here. I have been looking forward to this, even though I'm nervous.
Okay. And we want to say hi to Jeff, her husband. Jeff is over there in the corner.
Jeff Taylor is also
Hey,
here.
Jeff. All right.
Next, we're going to have him on the show.
Yeah.
I'm just very excited to have you. I'm actually nervous too, knowing who you are and what you've done in my life. Like Lolita, I've been very blessed to have people like you in my life, which have put me where I am today. I wouldn't be sitting in this chair. I wouldn't be sitting with 5 years of sobriety. I wouldn't be sitting with the peace that I have if it wasn't for you guys being a catalyst in my recovery. So I want to just thank you personally for being a part of my life, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. I told Kathy I was going to ask her a question to calm her down. How's Soul Brother?
Oh,
Tell me who Soul
my
Brother
dog.
is.
I have a little dog named Rudley, and he's a little black dog, and Lolita calls him Soul Brother.
Oh, boy, he ran that show. Boy, Soul Brother ran that show.
Yeah, he pretty much runs the house.
Now, see? Okay,
He
now
does.
you're relaxed. Okay, good.
Well, I want to talk about how I met Kathy. It's a great story and it's part of my testimony. I started working with Lolita and her music career and speaking engagements, and I found Kathy through a website. I was just looking for recovery. I Googled recovery, and your name came up as one of a recovery leader on one of the websites, and I clicked on it, got a number, gave you a call, and you booked an appointment. And it was
Yeah.
it was odd because a lot of these churches don't really let you in. They don't know who you are. They really want to know what you're about, who you are before you even talk to them.
Guarded, very guarded.
Yeah, they're very guarded, and you were not. So I booked an
Yeah.
appointment, walked into your office, said hello, and I said, oh, I work with Lolita Robinson, and I gave you a promotional package which had her CD, her book, and you said, yeah, I think she'd be a good person to come and give her testimony on this program called Celebrate Recovery Ministry on the special night of song and praise. And very easily you wrote down her name, her contact information, mine, booked it, and moved it to the side. And I thought, great, I'm done. Thank you very much. This is going to be great. And you started sharing to me about your testimony and how God has changed your life. And your transparency really made me standoffish, actually. It made me like, oh, this lady's talking to me about this, and she's a ministry leader, and she's a pastor. And I was like, well, that's kind of odd. But you were so transparent that I wanted what you had. And then you told me what you had done, and pretty much telling me, you want what I have, you got to do what I do. And you gave me this Bible. This is the Life Recovery Bible that you gave me, and I rode around with it for 6 months in the car. And after Lolita doing her testimony at your church, Lolita said, you know what, Joel, I think, AA is not enough. You need to find something like this that has Christ as the foundation and your higher power. And when I started my first step study class, it really started a process that
It would be interesting to see how it was when you how was it when you first saw him when he came in? Would you
Oh no! Thank you,
put you on the
Lolita.
hot seat?
Here we go. Well, I think one reason that I made an appointment with you is I love any opportunity to talk about recovery. And so you had brought that up and you said, I want to know kind of what you do there. And so I was like, okay. And then he came in, this kid, young man, in a suit and a tie. And right off the bat, I was like, oh boy. So he,
She gets on him with these suits and ties.
he's always got his suit and tie on. So, but you were, I don't know, we had a really good talk that day. And I remember too thinking, even as time went on, working with you and Lolita, and at some point I told you and I told Lolita, if you really want to break into Celebrate Recovery and be able to go share there, you need to do a Celebrate Recovery step study. And I think that was, you got into it, and then she eventually got into it. But yeah, I'll never forget that day. You brought your little packet of stuff, and
Seems like, but you shared with him more so, because he'd come back and tell me that you would just spend time with him and just sharing about, was it your story you were telling him about, or you just felt like there was something about his life? Or?
You know what happens? A lot of times people come to my office, and I think they think, I work at a church, I'm a pastor, I'm a leader, and they think I'm perfect, and they're guarded in what they say to me because they're afraid that they're afraid to be transparent at first. And so I've gotten in the habit of, I kind of throw out some of my story in those situations because it relaxes people. And so as soon as I could let him know, hey, I've got stuff in my life, and I don't know, there must be something about me. For all my life, people always tell me their stuff. So, because I think you were sharing a little bit with me too. And so then I trying to make him feel comfortable, trying to make him feel, I started sharing some of my stuff with him.
Yeah, because when I came in, I started sharing how I came to Christ because Lolita and you know, my story about meeting her and working with her. And it's funny because there was no need for that. You already had booked her. There was no agenda. I just started sharing after you'd booked her because you booked her very quickly. I was so impressed. I was like, oh, wow, I'm good. You moved it to the side and you're like, no. I was like, wow, God really had a plan and had a purpose. And
Yeah, because he uses, it's a family. I mean, I was a catalyst to kind of like bring you in, but I really believe the Lord has really used Kathy to kind of disciple. And now he's turned you over to more men in your life, but she could say things that, I didn't feel at liberty, or it wasn't me to do it. The Lord used Kathy to do it, and plus to minister in my life too. So might be a little interesting to hear about her life.
Well, let's talk about your life. Let's talk a little bit about your history, your family of origin, and we'll start there.
My dad's a pastor. I grew up in a Christian home, and Jesus was talked about from the time I can remember. I'd said my prayers, but I didn't really have my own personal relationship with Jesus till I was about 15 years old, and then I accepted him at a church camp one summer. And I knew things were different at that point. I really sensed a presence in my life. I really wanted to have a relationship with him and felt that I did for as much as I could at that stage. And but then when I was 18, I got married for the first time, and for the next probably close to 30 years, I just went off on my own track and really far away from God, far away from Jesus.
Did you have children in that marriage?
I did not have children in that marriage. However, in subsequent marriages.
Well, to put it mildly, but that's cool. No, I'm glad you're sharing this.
I mean, how far do you want me to go with it? I'll tell you the whole story.
How well, so
I actually, by the time I met my husband, Jeff, my current husband, I met him in 1990. I had been married and divorced 3 times, and I had 4 children, none in the first marriage, 2 by my second marriage, and 2 by my third marriage. And just down a really bad path, always looking to fill an emptiness that I had with relationships. I was unfaithful in those marriages. My husbands were all addicts or alcoholics, and I did what they did. I smoked pot for 10 years every day, and then when I met Jeff, he was an alcoholic, and I was comfortable with that. And I say today, I think a lot of that had to do with when I was with if you're married to an addict or an alcoholic, you get to be in charge. I could be in control of everything that was going on. But I drank with him. And so for 6 years, we lived together, unmarried, drinking every day. And we hit a bottom in 96 and got sober and got married in 97.
That is so cool.
It was pretty weird. We didn't know if we were even going to like each other when we got sober, since we hadn't even known each other sober.
Well, how amazing is that? Because God must have really chose him for you and you for him, for you guys to be able to find recovery and do it together.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times they tell you in program, you know, sometimes you get in program and you start going in one direction and that person will stay stagnant. That person won't grow with you. And you have to be able to set your boundaries and continue the process and the growth that you have. But you guys did it together.
Yeah.
It was
really
kind
cool.
of, we didn't, and really, I wasn't in recovery until later on. I mean, I stopped drinking because he stopped drinking. And we started going to church in 98 and we got baptized in 99. And we really did start walking with the Lord at that point. But I was really dead and empty on the inside. I had a lot of guilt and a lot of shame because by then my kids were kind of out of control after all the things that I had dragged them through, the relationships and the drinking and all the stuff like that. So.
Well, being a preacher's kid.
Yeah, I want to go back to that.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about your father.
My dad is an amazing man of God. He's 85 years old, just still preaches at his retirement place that they live. He's just a great man, a great minister. And he loved us. I always knew I was loved, but Dad was never home. He was never there. And he recognizes that early on. By the time I had moved out of the house, my sister was there. He spent more time with her, but he was gone every night, always ministering to other people, always had something else to do.
Do you think that had a lot to do with your walk with Christ? When you're raised as a child with Christ, I didn't have that experience. I came to him when I was 19. Do you take it for granted?
That's a
Did
great
you hear
question.
Jesus all the time?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think I totally took it for granted. It made me not really understand what a real relationship with him was because I grew up knowing about him. He was there and I learned all the Bible studies and sang all the songs and we prayed, but I didn't really have that relationship, know him as a being in my life, as my higher power. And
do you think you were upset with God to a certain extent because your dad wasn't around? How come everybody else got him but us?
I wasn't conscious of that. I never was conscious of that. And that was one of my biggest problems when I got into recovery. One of the hardest things I ever did was to put my dad on my fourth step because he was a good man. And I just felt like since he's a good man, he's a great dad.
Right.
And he had come to me years earlier when I was much younger and apologized to me and said, you know what, if I could take back those years, I was never there for you. I'm so sorry. And I was like, what are you talking about? You know, you're a great dad. We always knew we were loved. But it was when I got into recovery that I started recognizing the empty place that I had. But I truly believe really that empty place is all about Jesus. I believe God creates each one of us with a space like that. And we try to fill it with all kinds of other stuff. But yeah.
I believe that too, because, you know, through my acting out, no matter how much I acted out, no matter how many parties I went to, how much fun I had, how beautiful the girls were that I was with, I was still very empty.
Yeah.
But when I found Christ and I really allowed him into my heart, it really gave me a sense of peace. Yeah. And it wasn't an adrenaline, but it was this peace and the serenity that I never had before. Like when I go to bed now, I can actually fall asleep, where before I would toss and turn and I'd be thinking of all these crazy things, but now I rest. So I can relate to that. I can relate to that.
But I think it's also so beautiful how your father really came to you and made amends.
Yeah.
And can you explain to our audience about what a fourth step is? Because a lot of people tuning in may not know.
A fourth step in recovery, the fourth of the 12 steps, is where you actually write an inventory, and you can do it in columns or however you want, but you put down any person that has hurt you or harmed you in your life, as well as any people that you may have hurt or harmed, and what they did, how it affected you, how it affects you today, and what, if any, part did you have in it. And so I always thought of that in terms of, because you hear these stories, people that were abused and abandoned, and you know the terrible things that happened to them, even through their fathers. And my dad was a good man.
Yeah,
so
he didn't molest you and beat you, and he wasn't drinking. That's the hardest, I think, for people to realize. That dysfunction can be in a family where I think your family's harder to detect it. I use families like yours like a kind of like a famine. You can't see it.
Right.
Like families where there's alcoholism and the father's out of control, and that's like a big storm. But yours was harder to detect, so it would be hard to do that.
And you know what? I have a brother and sister. I mean, they didn't do all the things I did. First, I think we're all different. Everybody has different needs. I mean, we respond differently to different situations.
They didn't get into alcohol or drugs or any of that?
No.
Wow.
Well, my brother a little bit.
Okay.
Now that I'm thinking about it.
That's very interesting.
But yeah, I just feel like we're all. I think we respond differently to our circumstances. So you can have different people in the same household that are responding differently.
But everybody has problems, and everybody can use a little help.
Sure.
You know.
Yes.
Well, I do want to touch on Celebrate. So that was before Celebrate. Let's talk about when you came to Celebrate.
Okay.
When did you come to Celebrate? Celebrate Recovery.
Celebrate Recovery. I started Celebrate Recovery in 2004. I actually started working at the church in 2002. I was invited to take a position there. And
How did that happen?
I
mean, out of everybody.
God.
Yeah. What were you doing before that?
I was in the construction industry. I worked in construction for years and years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same there.
And then actually what happened is, as Jeff and I started drawing closer to God, we were in small groups at the church. We started serving. We started leading small groups. And our pastor was thinking of a new position to oversee all the volunteers. The church was growing. And so he called me at home and just said, I've been praying about this. Your name's been coming up. Would you come talk to me about this position? So long story short, I took the position in 2002. And my husband actually got into recovery at that point. We had Celebrate Recovery at our
Who
church.
ministered to him?
Me, I just poked him in the ribs.
Told him
and
to go to
said, "You need be
Celebrate.
there."
Oh, Jeff is shaking his head. Like, yep, she said it. That's true.
We had Celebrate Recovery at the church already. I
But
heard
he
about it.
needed
I was
it, but
like,
not
"You're an
you, right?"
alcoholic. You need to go." So yeah,
That's great.
and so and he went, but when he got there, he realized, oh my gosh, this is an amazing program, and they weren't exactly following the program at that time.
Because it was just starting kind
They
of
had just kind of got kicked it
Yeah.
off, and they were kind of trying to do some of their own thing. And like today, we go by the book because
do.
Celebrate Recovery is amazing the way it's
Yeah,
written.
they don't need anything else.
But so he got involved in the leadership, and then after 2 years, he had gone to my boss, our senior pastor, and said, "Hey, we could do better. We could make this better." And
Wow.
so I talked to him. I said, "I could take over Celebrate Recovery."
Oh
and do
my
it."
goodness.
I did.
That's us, the codependents.
Oh yeah.
So you're right,
I'm
call
gonna
them the
fix
same
this for
thing.
my husband. So I
Not
said,
knowing a thing about it, right?
I didn't know anything
But
about
God
it.
knew, boy, did he have a
Oh my
surprise for you.
goodness.
That's right.
He put me there for a reason. So I did. So in 2004, I took over Celebrate Recovery as the staff administrator. I was on staff at the church. I was overseeing it. And my husband was there. We started a new leadership team, and we went to Saddleback, where Celebrate Recovery
Okay, so you had to
originated.
get trained.
Every single Friday night for 6 weeks. We kind of shut down the old one and started over. And then for a whole year, I sat in the very back row. I never went to small
your clipboard?
groups. I never got up front. When you get up front and talk, you have to say, my name is Kathy and I'm in recovery for, and I wasn't in recovery. So I didn't get up front. I told everybody what to do. I did all the administration, led the leadership meetings. And after a year of listening to those testimonies and listening to the teachings on the 12 steps, and I went to the summit, to some Saddleback events. And I finally, the second year, took my step out of denial and taught on denial, actually. Everybody cheered. It was like everybody knew but me that I needed to be there.
Was it a quiet moment or just God saying, this is it?
It built up, I think, throughout the year. And I think for me, I never had realized before about these relationship issues, for one thing. Why did I do the things I did? And I knew that I had a good family and good parents, and so I blamed myself. I was filled when I went into recovery, even as I was working at the church, I was filled with guilt and shame, so much guilt and shame, and I still had it. And as I sat there, and it was through working the steps, getting into a step study, that I was able to move beyond that and to let go of that burden.
Well, let's jump a little bit ahead, and I want to ask you, how is your life now after Celebrate? And then we're going to go into what is Celebrate. But how is your life now after Celebrate? How long have you been in the program for Celebrate?
I've been in the program since 2004 I took her, so 2005 is when I admitted that I had that I needed to be there.
Right.
So what's that? 8 years? About 8 years that I've and my life, I've done several step studies. there's just no comparison. The freedom that I feel in my life today, and the depth of my relationship with Jesus Christ through working those steps and through really learning how to rely on Him. Where I'm powerless, He has power. And so, it's just an amazing life that I have today because of it. I have joy even in the midst of turmoil. I mean, we have stuff that goes on in our family and myself personally. I mean, that it's not all a bed of roses all the time.
Right.
But I have joy and I have peace even in the midst of. I have joy in my house.
That's right. We were going to ask you what that means. Well, you talked about guilt and shame. Wouldn't you? Well, we say that guilt and shame is the fuel under all addictions. So, do you think by sitting in those 12 steps and being with those other women and hearing other people's stories, that's what released you to realize that other people have these?
I think that's part of it, but I think that bigger than that for me was really surrendering it to the Lord. Starting to see myself the way He saw me, not seeing that old person that I felt like I was, that horrible person that had committed adultery and, messed up my kids, but seeing myself the way He saw me. And I knew that Jesus loved me and that He valued me and that He has a plan for my life. And I began to sincerely believe that.
Yeah, because if you hadn't embraced that in yourself, it would have been very hard to be in the position that you're in now, because now you comfort people with the comfort that you yourself have experienced.
That's one of my life verses. Yeah.
Is it really? I didn't know that.
4:1.
So now you can understand when people come to you that are feeling guilty and shame. What do you tell them?
Well, it's just like when Joel came.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
people come in, they're nervous, and I start sharing a little bit with them. And I think you said something like I wasn't surprised or I stay calm. I hear that a lot. People will say, you weren't even surprised when I told you. Like some people think they're the only one, or they think their story is just so horrible that no one is going to receive it. And by this time, I can pretty well tell you, I think I've heard most stories, and God is bigger than all of it. I know that. I've seen Him redeem so many people.
That's cool. Well, let's talk about this program, Celebrate Recovery. What is it, and what is it for?
Celebrate Recovery is, as you said, a Christ-centered 12-step program. We also go by the 8 principles. It's based on the 8 principles, which really come from Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes. And but they go right along with the 12 steps of AA. The difference between Celebrate Recovery and AA, one of the differences is that we declare Jesus Christ as our higher power.
Right. Yeah.
It's not a higher power of our own understanding, but it's Jesus Christ.
That's right.
And as far as who should go or what, it's like anything. We talk about hurts, habits, and hang-ups. It's not just about drugs and alcohol. A lot of times people see that word recovery in there.
They won't go.
Yeah.
This is where I wanted to touch on. I think a lot of
they
people
don't
think,
want to go.
well, I'm not an alcoholic.
Right.
Well, I'm not, a sex addict. I'm not a drug addict. But, I go to the casino. I go to the casino all the time, and, I get my Social Security check, and I take it to the casino, and I blow it all, but it's for fun.
Right.
But I think sometimes that's a fail. Or eating. Well, I don't do this, but, I binge eat.
Right.
And I wanted to touch on that there's so many areas of your life that recovery is a part of.
There is, even like anger. People carry around bitterness and hatred and unforgiveness. And I tell people an easy way to describe it is, if there's anything in your life that's preventing you from experiencing the joy that Christ wants for you to have, that God created you to have, Celebrate Recovery is a great place to go. It helps us just sort through all that stuff and figure ourselves out and figure out why we do things. But most importantly, it draws us close to Jesus because it's so based on Him and His promises.
Well, we're talking about that in our church on holiness, and I can always tell when God wants me to talk because my heart beats and I'm like, oh. But
really?
And I was telling her, it's just, you know how I feel. I think people think because you're up front and you speak that it's comfortable and you love it, but no, it's not. It's like anything else. It
takes effort.
You can. What was it like coming up here speaking?
Well,
this morning.
Coming up, it's funny because I can get up in front of hundreds of people and speak, and I'm okay with that. But there's something about this, and I think knowing that I'm going to be on camera, and I don't know, this is a new experience. Yeah. I think anytime we're going to experience something brand new or something we haven't gone through before, I was kind of nervous, pretty nervous. Yeah.
Well, this one I felt what I was starting to say was I felt that we're getting ready to go. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say you're doing very well, and I just wanted to say something on that topic as well, because when a person is in recovery and they are consistent with their situation and is sustained from that alcohol or drug, now they're confronted with who they are, and they realize how difficult it is, and they find out that they was using that drug or alcohol to suppress who they really are. So that's why it's really difficult for somebody to open up sometimes, and especially to somebody who's not in recovery, who just like book theory, and they may not. Well, you don't know what I feel because you're not an addict. So why should I open up to you? But because, like you said, when people open up to you and you say, with a plain face how to deal with it, they surprised, because to them they may not seem like to you that to them that you are in recovery, but then they see that you are, and then they feel more comfortable.
Absolutely.
So I understand.
I agree. The transparency.
It's transparency.
The transparency.
Yeah.
Are you aware? I mean, Ben Eric, I never asked you.
Yes, I am. I'm very aware about the 12-step programs and the recovery situation myself, from my own experience and because of my siblings being involved in it as well. So yes, I understand the whole process of inventory and things of that nature.
And it's so important. I got to say, yes, we talk about Jesus as our higher power. We talk about, like, I came to faith long before I got into recovery, but recovery is, I believe in working the steps. I mean, there's some people that say, I was delivered. And you know what? Some people are. I mean, and that's okay. But I really encourage people to work those steps. There's a reason why they're so effective.
Exactly.
So amazing.
Exactly, because I used them in several situations when I had the opportunity to get full custody of my daughter. Using those 12 steps helped me be successful in that as very well. So just like when I came to California, and I'm a born again Christian, and so
wow, Eric, that's so cool.
Where I worked at, they frowned upon us smoking cigarettes because they didn't want us to be seen by the tenants. So I found myself hiding behind dumpsters and at a grown man smoking cigarettes. So I'll never forget, I was still staying with my sister at the time. On a Friday, I was taking a shower, and I said, Lord, I don't want to smoke cigarettes no more. And he took the taste out of my mouth. And I don't smoke cigarettes, and it's been 7 years since I even touched the cigarette.
That's great.
I agree. I think
this is great.
Our transparency and you want that peace. Like I said, when I saw the transparency and the peace that you had, like I said, when those things you told me that you use and this and that, I thought, not you, not somebody at your position, not somebody like you, but that allowed me to be more honest with you. And like Van was saying, and then once you take that the addiction away, you're faced with the reality of who you are.
That's right. How do you live a life without that?
But I think Celebrate Recovery and 12-step gives you that the tools, gives you the blueprint to how to do that. Now you got to do the work. I know I had to do the work, but it gives you a blueprint. And I think before, in my own life, my own experience, I didn't have that blueprint. I did whatever I wanted, when I wanted, how I wanted it. And that's what got me into trouble, my own thinking.
That's what gets everybody. Well, John Baker, that's right, who started Celebrate, right?
He wrote the program.
Because he, like myself, was in secular. Well, what he did was he took back from the enemy what God had put, because AA started in a Baptist, the Oxford Baptist, as we all know. It's a God program.
Yes, it is.
If you work those steps, you're going to find the Lord. But I praise the Lord that God used him to take back what the enemy tried to stop and brought it back to his church, because that's where it belongs.
Yeah.
We're going to go to a quick commercial break, ladies and gentlemen. This is Joy in My House. I'm joined here by State Representative of Celebrate Recovery, Kathy Taylor. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. Please feel free to call in with any questions or comment at 323-247-7443. This is Joy in My House, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned.
Tweet, tweet, tweet.
I'm always in one of mine. Constant spins, not trusting. He opens doors to go in, but I'm afraid to depend upon him. I bring him ashes for gold. He starts to work, I put him on hold. Still he's faithful to me, 'cause he's blind as to see. I'm praising God, praising God. I'm praising God, praising God. I'm praising God, praising God. I'm praising God. Oh, I'm praising God. He's all to me, my life, my love. He sets me free, I love him any time of day. I close my eyes and I can pray to Jesus. Come and follow me, I'll make you whole if you serve me. It is you and me in eternity. I'm praising God, praising God. I'm praising God, praising God. Oh, I'm praising God, praising God. I'm praising God. Oh, I'm praising God. I love you, Lord, I do. Yes, I do. I serve him. Serve. I love you, Lord. I need you. Hey, hey. I'm serving God. I'm serving God. Said I need you, Lord. Yeah, I need you, Lord. Said I want you, Lord. Yes, I do.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Joy in My House, inspirational reality radio show with a touch of recovery. I'm joined here by my co-host Lolita Robinson.
And I'm so excited today. So much is happening in here.
I know.
It is cool.
And the state representative of Celebrate Recovery, Kathy Taylor, and our producer Van Eric on the boards.
And Jeff, don't forget Jeff.
And Jeff, Kathy's husband. You know, I wanted to touch on Jeff. I know he just stepped out right now out of the studio, but it's amazing that he's also part of the program.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think that's so amazing for you to have
As a
each
couple,
other.
yeah.
Yeah, that's always for somebody like that's an addict like me and that's in the program is one of my fantasies. To have my wife or my girlfriend, you know, to be part of my Celebrate.
Wife.
Oh,
You've had
wife.
enough
Well, I mean, it
girlfriends.
starts.
We'll give you a wife.
Oh gosh, Mama. You know. What's funny? I have to tell you, I really have learned a lot. Probably the majority of what I know about recovery from Jeff first, because he was in recovery for those years from '96 until 2002 when he got into Celebrate Recovery, and I didn't come in and remember until 2004.
Right.
Oh, that's
Or
right.
acknowledge that I needed recovery until 2005. So he had a number of years, and those early years, even though I was overseeing the ministry, I knew nothing about recovery, and he was on the leadership team, and you know what? He made me look like I knew what I was doing because he taught me a lot.
Wow.
He really has taught me.
That's
and you know what's
amazing.
really good about this is that it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter the mistakes you've made, I've made. You've been married 3 times, but God is the God
4.
of the second chance. Or 4. But God is the God of the second chance. Look at
Yeah.
this.
Wow.
He's
Oh, my
He
gosh.
can use it all and turn it around
Yeah.
for his glory.
And there's not a person that he doesn't want to do that for.
You were saying, what were you saying before we got on the
'Cause we're
mic? What did you
talking
want to
about
say?
Oh,
Who
yeah.
Celebrate Recovery is for.
Exactly.
Right.
I was saying that you asked me that question, who's it for? And the reality is, I think there's every person can benefit from it. I mean,
And I would agree.
even the rest of the staff at the church make fun of me because I think they all need to be in there. I'm
Yeah.
like, you know, there's a running joke, and we have a group for that, you know. But the reality is, you don't have to have some big rock bottom experience or to have your whole life be unraveled to be able to benefit from working through that process of those steps. And again, just drawing closer into a whole new depth, I think, of relationship with the Lord.
That's what I was starting to say earlier in church. We were talking about whole and being vulnerable, and I was saying to the church, it's a shame that people have to go out of the church to get the help, which is what I had to do years ago. The church is supposed to be a place for the broken people, and we can all, like you said, use a little cosmetic surgery in the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
And I would agree. I think that some people, when they think of recovery, saying, well, I'm not that bad, or I don't have that big of an issue, but then you really start looking under the underline, and you start seeing that, there's a lot of functioning alcoholics, very successful. We had Brett Lewis on, which is part of CR as well.
He's a good friend of mine.
He's hilarious.
Well, he was great, and he talked about his successes.
Yeah.
Even through his drinking, he was a functioning alcoholic. And sometimes you think, well, I'm not missing work. I'm being responsible. I don't need recovery. But I agree with what you said, Kathy, that everybody can benefit from a deeper relationship with Christ through this process.
And being open to the Holy Spirit, just doing some overall cleaning. It's like an internist. There's doctors who go inside. The Holy Spirit can reveal those things and set us free, whatever, depression, anything.
It just, in some ways, for me, I think I was dead on the inside. I felt like Celebrate Recovery, or through my walk with the Lord, but Celebrate Recovery in particular, I have feeling again. I have joy. I laugh and I cry and I have emotions. And I walked such a bad path for so long that I had shut myself off to all that.
Well, we don't want to forget to talk about your kids, how they are really getting it.
Yeah.
Well, let's touch on that before I go into the next topic. Now your children, I know that when we went to go visit you and support you, giving your testimony at Cottonwood Church in Long Beach, I saw your daughter there.
One of them, yeah. We're very excited. We have 4 daughters in recovery right now, in step studies, different groups, different places. But while we were going through all our stuff, they were going through it with us. We were driving. By the time we sobered up and wised up, they were out of control and floundering around. And one of the things in our family, we talk about this stuff. We don't pretend like those years didn't happen. Some of the most fun conversations we've had around the dinner table are remembering some of the dumb things we did when we were drunk. But we talk about it openly with our kids. Our kids are all grown now. Our youngest kid is 25, so they're all grown up in their 20s and 30s. But they've gone through some hard stuff because of what we took them through. But now they're one by one coming to the Lord. My mom prayed for me for 40 years.
Wow.
And I'm still praying for a couple of ours, because between the two of us, we have 8 or 9 kids somewhere in there.
Beautiful. But they see it. Kids, when they see it, they see you.
Yeah.
That you were humble enough to go, I missed the mark, but hey, I'm there. They see it in you.
They see the change, and they've even said when they were I've always wanted them to be in step studies, but they had to make that choice. It's like, well, I feel like we're okay. We talk about it. I said, yeah, we're okay. I'm okay, but you still need to work through it for yourself. You still need to do it, and they're loving it.
Oh, that's great. We wanted to say that. Yeah. Just give people out there. You may have kids that are grown. You may have kids that are not serving the Lord, who are doing these things, but it's never too late. God can do anything. You just keep
pressing on
like you're doing.
Press on,
and your kids can later on follow that trail.
And I like what you said. You don't push them to do it. They see it through your actions.
And absolutely.
Then, just like I wanted what you guys had, the peace and the serenity, I wanted that, so I had to do what you did. And soon enough, I learned that I had to walk those steps that you guys walked in order to get to where you are. I'm still far behind, but I'm still taking my steps forward. Even though sometimes I take 2 steps back, I keep moving forward.
We never arrive.
No, that's what I learned when I did my 4th step with you, which I want to go away again.
Yeah.
And work some more.
We did that.
I had a whole lot going on. That's right.
That's when you're gonna fall, because if you think that you're done with it, you're just setting yourself up for failure, because you should be humble enough and show enough humility to say that, okay, at any given time I can make a mistake and substitute the things I used to do to substitute it with to kill the feeling, and that's not a good way to go about it.
No, it's not. There you go. There you
And
go.
that's program right there.
I
That
think
is
too, when we realize that anything good that we do or we do have is of God, it's Christ in us. It's not about me. It's not because I know anything, but God is able to work through me and in me. So,
Well, I know you want to ask about landing because
I
that's
wanted to
important
go
about the
into,
kids. Yeah.
The next question was, through all of these blessings that you've had, you've been able to even continue the Celebrate Recovery process and even take it to another level. You're starting a program called Landing at Parkcrest Christian Church in Long Beach. Tell us a little bit about that. How exciting.
it's very exciting. The Landing was also written by John Baker and his son Johnny Baker.
Wow, how cool.
Yeah.
Love to you, John. Love to you. What a
It's-
mighty thing God's done.
Absolutely. That man is totally anointed. We believe that.
Mm-hmm.
But the Landing is written for students and like junior high, high school, early college. It's the same as Celebrate Recovery. It's using the same 8 principles. It's 52 weeks a year. Ideally, it's set up to be able to run the same night as Celebrate Recovery, so the whole family can come and be in the same place and have those
On Fridays?
conversations. Yes. And I wanted to do it. I bought the program a couple of years ago at the annual Celebrate Recovery Summit at Saddleback, but we were just transitioning a new student ministries guy in, and I've got to have student ministry buy-in in order to do student programming, obviously. So I gave it to him, and I said, just take a look at this when you get a chance. I know you're new here. I know it's not going to be well. I'm not equipped to start it myself either. And so he's had it for about 2 years. And then just a few months ago, he came to me, popped his head in my door. He said, hey, whenever I can't facilitate it, but I'll resource it any way I can. If you can get the people together, if we can start that, we
Is
need
your
it.
pastor?
Yeah, he's our
Okay.
student
Oh, your
ministries
student
pastor.
minister. Okay.
And he said, we need it. Let's go for it. And I said, okay, but knowing I don't really have a lot of time for it either, I didn't think about it for about a couple weeks later. This young girl came to me who has been through I think she's our youngest CR graduate, 21 years old.
Oh.
And she wants to start. So anyway, make a long story short, we have all the leadership in place. We're starting on April 12th. We've got an amazing group of leaders that have been raised up through Celebrate Recovery and are ready now to branch out and to
Get our youth.
Yes.
Get our youth.
Yes.
They are so hurting.
That is so
Praise
amazing.
I get calls
Lord.
every week from people wanting to know, what do you have for students?
Yes.
And finally, and nobody else is doing it around here right
How
now. So.
appropriate. And you know what? I love that
That's
because I know
awesome.
my daughter struggles with her
Maybe
own
you can
issues.
get her in there.
I would love that.
Wouldn't that be beautiful?
what-
Friday night.
Just amazing because
Yeah.
Celebrate is my foundation for my sobriety,
Yeah.
and I would
Yeah.
love for my daughter to get in touch. She was actually at my first testimony at
Yeah.
your church when
That's
I gave
right.
my
She
testimony.
was.
and
I
mentioned to me.
remember
beautiful
that.
girl.
Yes.
Beautiful.
And I
Yes.
told her,
Yeah,
you know,
because
God
now
can
our
change
kids are coming
anything.
up with our crap, like you
Right.
said.
Yep.
You know, my boys are still working their stuff out, having me as a mom,
Same
and how
here.
awesome. I want to get my son. He's
Yeah.
19.
Yeah, he could go.
How
Yeah, and we've
beautiful
just got this
God's using
amazing
you
group of
guys.
leaders, and it's real fast paced, and it's geared towards
Towards the youth.
students. But yeah,
That's what I
very,
like about
very excited
Parkcrest.
about it.
Parkcrest is so in the community and so gets people plugged in and meets
They're
the
very
needs of
progressive.
people. And our church is getting there, but you guys are like the beacon on the hill. You're the light tower on the
Yeah,
hill.
you guys are very progressive. I
You
always
really
see
are. You
you're
really
constantly
are.
reaching out. I mean, especially to the youth, like you said.
Yeah.
Because some of the youth is where I know for teaching martial arts for so many years, the teens were the years that I lost them. That's where I had the least
Yeah.
enrollment because they start finding about girls, start
Right.
finding out they want to do their own thing,
Right.
and it's the hardest time to keep them focused. Even though we all
college
go through
too.
it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So I am elated to hear about this landing. I'm gonna have to go
Yeah.
just to show up just
Mhm.
for your.
Yeah, you might be too old though.
I am. I wish I wasn't, but I am.
Well, get our kids going.
But
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
kidding. Yeah, no, it's we're very excited about it. Very excited.
And I did want to touch just a little bit on. I had an opportunity to be invited by you, Kathy, and John Brennan, which is the Celebrate Recovery Regional Director of Celebrate, to the private screening of the movie Home Run with
Yes.
starring Scott Elrod, Vivica Fox, and Dorian Brown.
Mhm.
I was very impressed with the movie.
Yeah.
The movie is called Home Run, and it talks about a ball player who's an alcoholic,
Mhm.
and part of the program for him to get back on the team because he gets suspended for acting out has to join a 12-step program,
Yeah.
and they give him a Jesus Christ 12-step program,
Yeah.
which is Celebrate Recovery. What did you think? I was so impressed.
I haven't seen it yet. What did you guys think about it?
Oh my God! Well, that was like the third time. I've seen it a couple times smaller, but seeing it on the big screen like that, I saw it on smaller screens before, and I think they've tweaked it. It's like the way it's going to be now. I cry every time. It's amazing story of hope. I mean, it just shows the hope, and it was so realistic in the fact that the struggle that went on with this guy, on and off. It's not like he just goes, oh, okay, I'm going to get better now. I mean, he continued to go back to the alcohol and then come back and forth. A really realistic picture of what the struggles an alcoholic or anybody struggling with any kind of addiction goes through. And there's a little bit of everything in it. There's some romance in it. There's kids in it. There's a little league team. And it was... I'm excited. We're very excited about it.
I got excited.
I'm so happy about it because the 12-step, you cannot do that. For the secular, you cannot do radio, press, television. You cannot do that. But with Celebrate, you can. And so it is putting it on the big screen and letting people see what it looks like.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And they really touched on sharing, how you share, and some of the emotions that I know that I got choked up watching people share. And then, because people don't know what Celebrate is or what recovery is. So, you share in a group, and then sometimes you go out and you give your testimony and you share out there as well. But I think it's a freedom that you get when you do that, which they showed on the movie.
They did. What I liked about it too is the sharing that they showed were a lot of different. It was almost as if it was like testimonies.
I felt like clapping.
Yeah, it was, and they had different issues, so it kind of showed that Celebrate Recovery is not just about drugs and alcohol. They had a guy that was a sex addict. They had a person who suffered with abuse issues from her childhood. One was food issues. They showed that it wasn't just about, chemical addiction. And, really good.
They also showed, which I think is important, is that you can't do it on your own.
Oh, yeah.
They showed the community coming around each other in order to support them. I mean, one guy in the story was stealing from the offering table.
Well, don't tell everything.
And he made amends. on the
keep it coming.
Right.
But I hear you.
But it was funny because it also shows the steps.
Yes.
Not just the sharing, but it showed his fifth step. Making his amends.
Yeah.
And
really? So they go into so they show people how to work it.
It was so
he made
good.
amends right there in his testimony to the people there.
To the people.
It's I just want to encourage everybody.
Jeff is just walking around grinning and smiling and see. Jeff is having a ball. He's all excited and taking a picture.
So opening weekend, April 19th. We want to get everybody there. There's a website, www.homerunthemovie.com. And if you go to that website, you'll be able to see trailers. You'll be able to see what theaters it's in. It tells everything about it. So, hope a lot of people come out.
We're getting close to the end of time, and I always like to end with the premise of the show. The name of the show is Joy in My House, and the premise is, what does joy in my house mean to you, Kathy?
I think it's kind of like I mentioned earlier. I think joy is something that we have regardless of our circumstances. And to me, it's like in our house is crazy. We have an adult child that's moved back in for a little while and a grandchild. I mean, we never know what's going on. But no matter what's going on in our house or what's going on with us or our kids, we have joy. Because the joy of Christ, it overrides everything else. And so when we have that peace and that joy, I feel like the bad times aren't as bad anymore. But I think what it takes is walking with him during the good times too. So as long as we're continuing that relationship, because sometimes it's easy to get away from that when things are going good.
Right.
But if we're continuing to walk with him during the good times, when the bad times come, we're still able to maintain that joy through him. And that's what it means to me.
That's amazing.
Man. Well, for somebody who had butterflies, you're flying, girl. That's awesome.
Kathy Taylor, I want to thank you for joining us here on Joy in My House. State Representative of Celebrate Recovery.
Yay!
And don't forget to tune in next week. We're going to have Angel Smite releasing her CD, Stronger Than Me. She is a 3-time LA Music Award winner. Will be here. She sings at quite a bit of the Celebrate Recoveries and sang at the Summit last year. She'll be here premiering some of her songs, and she'll be singing live with David. You're not going to want to miss. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joy in My House. I want to thank you for being part of the joy that we have in our house. Have a great and blessed day.
Yay!
Bye.
Jump up and shout his praises. Everybody sing hallelujah. Turn around and tell your neighbors all the great things God has done for you. The waves are crashing and praising. trees are swaying in the breezes. The angels guide your way. Keep your faith, it's a brand